Okay, so before, we actually conduct this fourth chapter in the utility saga. I think I'm receiving many comments that like demand or ask very fiercely or gently or fiercely or whatever or both to address the worm situation or the snake situation. So I've spoken about it many times in the past, but I understand that some people just don't care at all, and some people only now can listen to me. So let me. It's important enough and relates to many people, so I will try to summarize. The key issue here very, as quickly as possible. Even though this is a very complicated issue that was elaborated throughout many videos. What's going on here now? So first of all, what happening to you is related or the manifestation of the bicycle mechanism. You cannot understand it without at least having some knowledge regarding the bicycle mechanism. The bicycle mechanism was known to some extent by the Israelis since like more than 100 years ago, and it was always used as a way of torture. Always. The specifics were changed, and I discussed it a lot. I had like a whole series of videos like in cumulative more I think something like 10 hours. Like the series was 10 hours in total. That I call it Bicycle 201. That describes like all sorts of things related to the bicycle mechanism, and I have had additional videos, and I cannot summarize everything very shortly, but this is the basic mechanism that that causes what you feel right now, and it's a key issue in the biology of I would say the Venusians, and not only them, because many people in the like Homo sapiens also they ate the robots, and now the robots are the red robots, they call them the red Neros, are smart enough to operate inside the Homo sapiens body, so they became part of the bicycle mechanism. And I can tell you that I am the worst. I am the most, the poorest, and there was not a person in the history of Earth that was suffered from this mechanism more than I had. I am attacked on a daily basis since years ago by tremendous amount of people that sometimes they do it just in order to torture me for fun, and sometimes they just they drain energy from me, because it can be used to drain energy for me, for my body, for them, and sometimes they hope to clean themselves from all sorts of diseases this way. But be it as it may, I am always under cruel torture, and this was documented many times. There was never, there is kind of a relationship between the planets for thousands of years, but there was never a person that was more, that was, such a cruel, such a, victim of this torture by so many people in Israel. Again, I cannot elaborate too much because it's such a huge subject. I'll tell you what you absolutely need to know. Absolutely need to know. First of all, this mechanism was evolved or designed by an intelligent designer to facilitate and to help familial relationship mostly between male and his wives, like 3 or 4 or 5 wives, or 1 wife, as is customary and biologically supported by the biological facts in the planet Venus. They, first of all, it allows them it's first of all, part of it is facilitate, like the production of, pregnancy, it's it's also, I mean, one of the things that it allows is actually the, I mean, that I mean, the female will get into pregnant, like become pregnant, and have a baby, like the delivered baby. But it's much more than that. It's also used for fun in ways that I don't know, and also it's used to protect each other, because I mean it's a cruel world. I mean and then they live in a harsh society, and they need to protect each other, and it helps them. This mechanism was bastardized by the Israelis in unbelievably cruel ways for more than 100 years, and it's only getting worse, and they only find new ways like how to torture people and to torture each other, and I mean using this mechanism in unbelievably cruel ways. And I spoke about so much, maybe I just replayed the videos, because why should we repeat everything? What you absolutely need to know is the following. What happened in the last couple of years, I don't know exactly how many, is a huge, I mean, kind of like a huge perversion of the biological mechanism, more than ever, like in the last 100 years, because it was always the perverted. But I mean, what happened is that the red neurons, the drug, the T, I mean, is created inside the female body, but they need the brown, like the brown one, like I mean, which is the robots that exist naturally in the male body, in order for it to be created. And when they are having sex or any kind of intimate relationship with a male that is like their husband, in like Earth terms, then I mean they produce these red neurons, and they are related. They are like a family of robots, the reds and the brown. Now it's almost impossible to get brown neurons for many years now. It's because they are no more males. I mean they just kill them all and ate them for more than 100 years. They cannot be found. Like I mean, even like it's just impossible. Even if the gate is open, and it's not, but even when it was open, it became impossible. So there was also, I mean, so it was such a rare thing that many people in Israel even forgot, like, that was actually a difference. They didn't even know that, I mean, there is a difference between the brown and the red ones, and I've spoken about it so much already. I mean, but I mean, in the last generation, since the 1980s, I mean, they started to forget that, I mean, that there is even a difference. I mean, and of course they knew it in the past, and they predicated upon that like a whole system of abuse, but some people started to even think that maybe the Venusians, since they can shapeshift, I mean, they don't even have gender, and maybe they don't even multiply. Maybe they're created like in a factory or somewhere. No, of course they have gender. I spoke about so much. It just that, I mean, you don't have males because you killed all of them. So the Israelis started to sell like red ones from the body of the female Venusians, like their own female Venusians, to sell it abroad, and also to sell, I mean, red ones that are originated in other life forms, like, I mean, because it can be found in other life forms in Venus as well. But of course, it shouldn't be consumed by like Venusian, like, I mean, humans, and certainly not by Homo sapiens. But I mean, they sold it anyway because people wanted to buy it. But I mean, I don't know how long, maybe 15 years or 20 years ago, 15 years ago, and mostly during the last 10 years, they discovered that very shortly, that I have like something that is like the brown neurons. They didn't know, but it was elaborated a lot in this channel, that I'm actually a different life form, a representative of another civilization. My robots, I call them the yellow neurons, and they are the main subject of this channel, with hundreds of hours of microscopic evidence and theories and what's not, and speculations. And they are tremendously more complicated and sophisticated than both the Venusians, both brown and the red ones, and they can do amazing stuff. They are tremendously more advanced. But one of the things that they can do is that they can impersonate like the brown ones, like they can act like the brown ones, which means that I can fulfill like the functions of like the biological functions of male, of like a Venusian male, which is something that became important because there are no more males, and so they just, I mean, they torture me in order to get the yellow ones for me. They do it by, like hunting me all my life, not allowing me to have like any kind of relationship or sex, or the Shabak is always on my back torturing me, day and night for many years, and they try to condition me to masturbate into papers and to put it like outside, like in like a garbage bag outside, and so the neighbors can take it. And I mean, for some time they succeeded in that, but since 2 years ago I understood what's happening, and I just stopped doing it. Like, I mean, if I masturbated, I pressed it like inside like clay sculptures that, I mean, most of that actually I destroyed myself because I didn't want it to fall into the hands of the Shabak, because it was absolutely imperative that I will never be able to sell it. I mean, they for them it was always like, I mean, a huge, I mean, extremely important like key in their agenda that I must give it to them for free because I am their slave and they need to enslave me by also like by their magic tricks, you know, hocus pocus, billy bocus, you know, their social conditioning, which is mostly predicated on very outdated and cruel Soviet method of hypnosis and a lot of, I mean, psychological junk that, I mean, was laughable already during the 1950s, but unbelievably so, but metaphysically so. I mean, this is a huge part of what Shabak and the Mossad are doing. Like, I mean, it's like 90% of what they do is like, I mean, this hocus pocus, billy bocus. That's what they do. I mean, what can you say? That's what they do. That's what they do. So in the last 2 years, there is and the yellow ones were actually sold abroad, like, I don't know under what pretenses, because many of them themselves didn't actually understood what happens. But what actually happened, this was actually like the brown ones, and it was, I mean, sold, and many Titan females like all around the planet, not only in Israel, actually consumed it and produced the red ones, and then Homo sapiens has ate that. I don't know how many, maybe hundreds of thousands, or maybe even million or more. I don't know how many, but a lot of many Homo sapiens and many Titan females either consumed my like yellow robots that that came from my ejaculation, or consumed the red ones that are, as I said, from biological point of view, like the same family of robots. So what happens is now that everyone, both the Homo sapiens that ate the drug, and the Titans that ate like the ejaculation, like, I mean, they tormented me in order to get it for me. All of these people that, I mean, maybe more than a million, I don't know how many, maybe you have more, like, better estimation, but all of these people that, of course, are all related to intelligence services all around the world, mostly in the West, of course, but, I mean, all around the world, all of them, from the Venusian point of view, we are all family. All of us, we are family. This is unbelievable perversion, and of course it shouldn't, like, I mean, God did not intend it to be like that. And if you don't believe in God, so nature didn't intend it to be like that. It's incredibly, I mean, like, misguided. And of course, I mean, of course I was never, I mean, I'm a slave. I mean, they torture me in order for that to happen. I mean, but just so you know what's happening, So what's happening is all these million people are, one of the implications is all of these many people, like, they are part of a bicycle mechanism, which means that the robots in their bodies in some way work in tandem. So what does it mean? This is actually a very complicated issue. What does it even mean? It's not, because these robots are very intelligent. It's not like, I mean, like, you know, that if one, like, moves a centimeter to the left, all of the other also move to the left a centimeter. It's not like that. They mimic each other in a high level, like, I mean, in functional level, very high level, and they don't always do it. So the question is, like, who is the master? Like, I mean, who is, like, I mean, the master, and who's the slave? Like, I mean, in the bicycle, what wheel, I mean, is connected, like, I mean, to the pedals, and what is moving, and what wheel is moving by the chain. So it's a very complicated question, and I spoke about it a lot in this channel. I cannot repeat everything. It's a hugely complicated question, and of course, the Israelis used it, I mean, in order to torture me in all sorts of ways, and they did it for many years. Like, I mean, they tortured other people. It was part of their kind of, like, of the society for like 100 years, like, to torture each other and also to benefit in all sorts of ways using this mechanism that they don't even really understand. In general, I am like I have the final authority of the bicycle because I have the most neurons in my body, and also because they are intelligent creatures and they decide, it's mostly their decision. I mean, if they decided that, I mean, another person would be like, I mean, the one that they communicate with, I mean, I call the person that they communicate with, I call them, I use the term a lot in this channel, the Rabbi Lord, I mean, half joking, the Rabbi Lord, commander of the fleet. And I've said, I elaborated many times, like, how did they come with this kind of, like, this ludicrous title. But I mean, if they choose another person, it doesn't need to be like, I mean, a cherub. Like, I am representative of a cherub civilization, a very advanced civilization. But they can choose a title or even Homo sapiens. Presumably, they can choose anyone, and he will be the rebel or the commander of the fleet, and they will listen to him. Because they are the intelligent civilization, and they can, I mean, decide whatever. I mean, practically, they will not choose any one of you, because you are all scumbags. Why should they do it? I mean, they are not fool. Anyway, in order to actually understand, I mean, it took me a lot of time to actually learn how to communicate with these robots. And I've documented it a lot. It's a huge subject. So many hours of documentation. Like, I mean, to how do I communicate with them? Like, I mean, how do I, the symbolic language, and I'm studying this language like for 20 months now. It's incredibly difficult, but I've added many achievements. Anyway, in order to operate this basic mechanism, you don't have to know the symbolic language, because there are things that the Israelis just do, like, I mean, by tradition. And especially, they use it to drain energy from me, to clean their body from all sorts of diseases, and to torture me. The fact that you can hear me right now, because most of you don't actually have access to this YouTube channel because the Israelis block it. So if you I mean, you hear me, I mean, if you don't hear me, I mean, by definition, you hear me. This is also because of the bicycle mechanism, because it allows sharing of sensory, sensory, inputs. And this was, in Venus it's used to protect, like, I mean, to protect each other, but here in Earth it's used, I mean, either, I mean, to torture people, or for, I mean, as a way to, like, I mean, it's kind of like, I mean, a very, like, alien technology that is used to operate, zombies or puppets, like, I mean, instead of the, like, traditional cochlear chip that is used by, you know, intelligence services, but you know that you can't always use the cochlear chip, because sometimes, you know, there are ways to detect the cochlear chip, and if you send, like, the puppet, like, you send the zombie, the pedophile zombie, if you send it, like, to a place where, I mean, it will be suspected that, I mean, that is kind of, that is operated by intelligence service, that they might detect that he has the cochlear chip. So this is like an alternative way that does not require the cochlear chip, because they can, I mean, they can transmit sound like I do right now to you, using the bicycle mechanism. But there are other ways to use it. So they use it, I mean, for their own purposes in Israel. Maybe also abroad, but I assume only in Israel. Like only the Mossad and the Shabak are doing it. Now it should be very, very clear to you. I was infected by tremendous amount of diseases throughout my life, and certainly in the last 2 years. This was done for two reasons. First, for fun, because they just like to torture me. And second, it was done because it's called, like, they call it to ride me, which means, like, I mean, to initiate kind of, like, I mean, an action that, I mean, that allows them to the Israeli people, like, I mean, they do it, and then they can like, drain energy from my neurons, because I have tremendous amount of this in my body. So they drain energy from them, because they can transfer energy the same way that, I mean, stargates transfer matter, they transfer energy. So they just drain me from energy, and they do it mostly when I sleep. That's why, I mean, I have immense sleep issues, and I always, like, I wake up, like, I mean, like, always when I wake up, it's like, I mean, I need to recuperate from a hangover, even though I don't drink at all. But I mean, never mind. They torture me every day of my life. And it should be said, the Neros, these robots can manipulate life forms, and this was demonstrated for so many hours in this channel. I mean, it's a major topic of this channel, like, I mean, how they manipulate life forms. We've seen, I mean, you know, so many hours. I mean, just, I mean, watch the videos, get access to it. I mean, watch the videos. There's so many, I mean, so many hours of like, I mean, documentation during the last 10 months. Like, because the yellow ones, my own ones, like I mean, all the Neros, all the robots can do it, like the brown, the red, and the yellow. But the yellow ones are masters in that. Like they can create amazing life forms, and they have knowledge of like planets like from far away, and they can do amazing stuff with regards to life forms, much more than the reds and the brown ones. They can also do it, but not to the same extent. Now it should be said, I did not infect myself with the snake by eating the material from the crucible, as some of you suggested, like in the you know, in the food theory. I actually like the guy from the food theory. It's funny, like I mean, it's just a theory, a food theory. So yeah, it's actually funny. And sometimes I mean, sometimes, not always, it's actually even like educational. I mean, I like I tend to like more, like I mean, you know, the more scientific videos. I mean, because sometimes it's just, I mean, foolish, but I mean, but sometimes it's actually scientific and interesting. Anyway, as it was suggested in one of the later videos, that I mean, presumably I infected myself with these snakes, I mean, by eating the things from this dirty crucible. Of course not. Of course not. Of course not. It's impossible, because the neurons in my body kill these snakes. They kill every biological pesticide. They are like white blood cells. They can also create ones, but if they create it, they don't create like, I mean, like things that make me, like put me in danger. That's ridiculous. I was infected by it, I mean, several times already. Either, I mean, intentionally by cool people that all around me, or the way, as a way like to put more pressure on me, like to be a slave, or unintentionally by the riding mechanism of the bicycle, by people that were already infected with it. And I know how it feels. Like you have like something like, I mean, like a worm that's going in your tongues, and the first thing is that, I mean, you feel it, I mean, you lose every motivation to speak, because every time you speak, I mean, you feel it, and you're reminded that it's there, so you just don't want to speak. And 2 times I was infected by it, like I mean, and both happened during the last 10 months, like when I'm during the last 6 months. 5 months, like I mean, when I was here in this hostel, like Andre hostel, like under arrest, and the first time was, I mean, I was cured of it, like after like something like 2 days. I mean, not entirely, but I mean, like after 1 day, it became much better, and after 2 days, it's like, I mean, it was kind of like, I mean, I could speak again without like feeling it, but still my tongue wasn't completely like healthy, but so it took some time to be like to be fine, and then again I was like infected with it, but this time it actually cleared even quicker, like after a couple of hours. But not, I mean, after a couple of hours, I mean, it was like, I mean, it got to a much better situation that, I mean, I could spoken like, you know, without like feeling it. But it takes much more longer, like a couple of weeks, and actually it's not until now like the tongue like becomes like completely, like, you know, like in the original state, like you don't see nothing on the tongue. But this kind of like, I mean, this process takes several weeks. It's not that horrible, because I mean, you don't feel it, like, I mean, you don't feel it when you speak, so when you don't see, like, unless you watch it like in the mirror, you don't see it, so it's kind of like, so I mean, it's not that bad. But this is all for me, not to you. Do not expect that the same kind of, like, I mean, healing process will be applied to you. I will be maybe, but I would be extremely surprised. Most probably it's gonna take you tremendously more time, and I don't know, you might not be able to actually be cured of it at all. This is serious disease. I don't know what's the name of the disease. Certainly I was not infected myself with that. Certainly it's not created by the neurons. The neurons in my body, sometimes they create life form, but when they do it, they are synthetic life forms that are under their command. It's not like, I mean, they're not, it's something completely different. And they cannot hurt me, and they cannot, I mean, and it's just, I mean, it's stupid to think that they created like, I mean, that, why should they do it? I mean, their intelligence, I mean, they live, I mean, inside me, like in a symbiotic way. I mean, they do not create stuff inside my body that hurting me. they fight like intruders. That's why, I mean, the second time was quicker than the first time, because they studied, like, I mean, just like, I mean, in any other kind of disease. This is actually the same for white blood cells, for humans. That, I mean, the first time that you encounter, the white blood cells encounter like intruder microbes, like aggressive microbes, and it happens a lot, I mean, while traditional, usually when people are babies, like when you are baby. Yeah, so I mean, the first time that, I mean, the baby is like seeking some kind of new disease, it's the worst, and the subsequent like infections are much, like, I mean, milder, and or even like, you don't even notice it usually. So something like that is also happening with my own immune system. That, I mean, but I don't have white blood cells. I have the neos instead. But they don't create life forms that, I mean, that hurt me in my body. This is ridiculous. It's so stupid. Why should they do it? The same way, I mean, white blood cells do not create infections inside of the human body. I mean, why should it make sense? And the yellow robots are tremendously more intelligent than the white blood cells. I mean, uncomparably so. Like, I mean, they are like the Borg, like a Star Trek Borg. Like, they have like way to communicate in interplanetary scale. They build starships. They build stargates. They manufacture life. They terraform planets. I mean, why should they do such a stupid thing? What is true is the following: I was infected by this disease by Israelis, either intentionally by just, I mean, putting it like in my food, because they did so many, they've done it to me so many times during my life, just for fun, or maybe unintentionally by riding me, like, I mean, like using the bicycle mechanism. And this riding, I mean, mostly what it is done for them, like in order to like get energy from me. But maybe they are having fun, like, I mean, torturing me as well, because, I mean, they can torture me in all sorts of ways, like when they do it. And they do it for so long now. And then what happens is that I'm infected with these things. This is another way to be infected with this. I mean, because if the other, I mean, if they are infected with something, I can be infected with it. This is another way to infect me with diseases. So one of the two happened, and it happened many times, several times. And what happened lately, very lately, is that there was a huge amplification of the bicycle mechanism. That's what you allowed many of you to hear me. And this is attributed to several factors. First, all the neos in the world, all the robots are energized more than ever because of the starships that arrived. Huge starships, tremendous starships that arrived. There was one of these is here more than 100 years. It arrived to Earth like more than 100 years ago, or about like 100 years ago, or maybe like 90 years ago. But I mean, before, I mean, during the time of the British Mandate of Palestine, it was arrived. The first I call it the Caribbean cruiser. It's a starship immensely big, like, I mean, beyond your imagination, big, and like, I mean, it's like a terrifying god that, I mean, and it can also like conduct, I mean, hyperspace jump, which means like it can jump in hyperspace. It can jump. I will call the police just in probably in a couple of seconds, and we need to stop the video because this guy is, I mean, you've heard the guy. He's just, I mean, wants to break into my room. So I really need to call the police any moment. I've already called the police several times, I mean, because they broke into my room, just as you've seen right now. It's not a new issue. So I really need to call the police now. Sorry. I mean, you know, he's going to kill me. We should take their threats, like, I mean, in a very serious way, because these people, we can do anything. They have no limits, and it must be taken very, very seriously. hopefully the police will care about, I mean, whatever happens here, but you know, that's my life. Like, I mean, this is my life. Like, these people are paid by the Israeli government to do it, to torture me, and indirectly by the Americans as well, because you know that the Americans pay money to the Israelis in order to hit. I don't know what's like the correct intelligence term, but to surround me with like people that are of the intelligence service, like, I mean, for all sorts of reasons. But I mean, in what actually happens is what you've just seen right now. I mean, threats to my life and violence and cruelty, terror. This is my life, and it's like that for many years. Of course, most of it, I mean, most of this terror is directly done by the Israelis and the American financiers, the American operators. Like, I mean, not operators in the intelligence sense, but I mean, they are the managers of the business. I cannot even, like, you know, be in my room, like, under arrest without the fear of people break the door, and they did it several times, and just, I mean, just murder me. Just murder me. It's not the only one, I mean, you know, and this was recorded in the channel. I mean, it's a daily thing here. Like, I mean, threats to my life is a daily thing. The problem is that I don't know if what was recorded is enough for the police, because last time I called the police, they didn't arrive actually, but two or three times they actually arrived, but not the last time. And like the people that the person that runs out the hostel, his name is Andre, so he told me that, I mean, I should record, like, I mean, threats or like actual violence, but so I do record it, but I don't know if it's I really don't know if it's enough. Like, I mean, if it's enough for the police to actually do anything. I'm in my room. I mean, needless to say, and I mean, they don't like me to speak because they are paid by the Israeli government to torture me, and indirectly by the American taxpayer. This violence that you see now, I have nowhere to go. I'm under arrest by court order. I'm not allowed to leave this place by court order, because presumably something that I've done like 10 months ago, and actually I didn't do it at all. It's a framing. I was framed, but even if I did, it's unbelievably like mild offense, like criminal offense that, and I have no criminal record at all, and this is unbelievably mild. Like, I mean, presumably, like, and I'm still under arrest after all this time, and this is unbelievably draconian. And you know, for a person that never like had any criminal record, but I'm still under arrest because, I mean, can it be interpreted in any other way than you know, state terrorism and state brutality against, like, I mean, like an innocent civilian that, I mean, they just want to eat. Just, I mean, they just want to eat me. Like, they are cannibals. They want to eat me, and they are financed by the Americans for so long now. This is daily life. This is daily life, and it's actually documented in his channel. But this is daily life. That's my daily life. Threats to my life, violence, breaking into my room. This is my life, and there is no escape. I do not speak with any of them. I don't like have any even eye contact with them. I try to be in my room as much as possible, as you see, as you know. But I mean, my existence is the cause of their violence, and because they are paid for that. They are paid for that. They are operated by the intelligence operators. And even though they are so violent, I mean, they are very calculated. They always, like, I mean, conduct the violence in a way that mostly, I mean, will be difficult to prove, like, in front of the police. And even though, I mean, there was like a guy that, I mean, here that, I mean, Eventually, I mean, he was taken to arrest, but because of like another kind of like that he was violent towards another person. But I mean, yes, he broke into my room, and they did it for several months now. This is my life. This is my life, and the reason is mostly financial because the Yellow Neros were for a long time a huge source of income to the state of Israel and specifically to the people of the intelligence community, because many people abroad paid good money for this because they wanted it for their Titan females, because they took the drug from them. So they become dependent, and from their point of view, my bodily functions are their property. I am not allowed not to masturbate and give them and it's not enough. Like I need to give them everything that I need to chop things off my body and give it to them. And don't be mistaken, I've never received shekel from the money that people abroad gave them. On the contrary, people always took money from me and make me miserable as possible. And I wasn't even able to allow to work in my own profession, which is a software engineer, because my communication is also, of course, always controlled by the Shabak. So I cannot even email someone without Shabak filtering it. They don't want me to work in the high-tech industry. They want me to be a poor whore, because it's not enough for them to get all these things from me, from the trash. They also wanted me to be their whore, because all of them are homosexuals and pedophiles, as you know. So they thought, that I need to have sex with them, and I never had any sex with any of them because I'm not homosexual, so why? But from their point of view, it doesn't matter. The fact that they want to rape me is enough. So this is also another reason for this violence, because presumably I should let them rape me. But of course, none of it would have happened if there wasn't the financial motivation that is so big. And the financial motivation is created by other people all around the world, in the United States and in other nations, people that paid good money for the Israelis for this material that was taken from my body for many, many years. These people crucified me, and they still do it. Every cent that they sent the Israelis for many, many years was used to crucify me. Eternal crucifixion, without any kind of no horizon to be free from this cross. Because they want me alive, but they want me to be living in the most horrible condition, preferably in prison or in mental institution, without any friend or relative, and no one to protect me, so they can just, slice my body and watch it and you understand, my healing potential is tremendously more powerful than that of Homo sapienses, and they know it. That's why it's so fun for them to infect me with diseases. Their objective is very, very simple, and I saw it long ago. They want me to be locked in a mental institution, or just in a place like that, in a hostel, where they eat my body, and they wait for it to heal, and then they eat again, to harvest organs for me while I'm still alive. Needless to say, to take my pee and my semen from me like a farm animal, without any kind of any horizon of freedom, nothing. Outside society, and without no friends, no relative. All of that because the people abroad are paying them good money for this stuff. And the people abroad knew that it comes from my body. That's why it was so important for them to paint me. There was a painting project that I spoke about so much about it, throughout so many years. If people abroad didn't know nothing about that I even exist, then why was it so important for the Israelis to paint me as a pedophile and a monster and borderline, retarded, and a person that cannot do anything they regard guardian, and in the most ridiculous way? Why was it so important for them? It was important for them because people abroad knew about me, and it was more nice. It was nicer for them to understand, to think that they treat presumably a cruel animal creature that is also a criminal presumably, to treat like a farm animal or less than that, then I mean, for that perspective, it's kind of like it was nicer to think of themselves as people that I mean they treat in such a cruel way, like a person that I mean is subhuman. And if they known the truth, that of course they know the truth, but I mean, if the truth was like in their face, that I mean, of course I'm not the person, I'm not pervert, all my life I was kind of, I mean, I mean, needless to say, I lived a very straight life. I mean, served in the military as an officer. I mean, studied in university in like the best kind of courses you can think of, undergrad studies. I mean, I worked in several companies, and I was married. I raised my children until they were taken away from me, but I raised them since they were born in joint custody. Everyone around me knew that it wasn't a secret, but it was important for the intelligence in Israel to paint me in such a way, a horrible way, because it's more comfortable for people abroad to treat me like a farm animal, if presumably I'm a person that I'm manifestly not. But they knew that I exist. They knew that this stuff that they buy comes from the body of a poor animal, of a poor creature. This terror is only getting worse. And you see right now what happened. You see, this is daily life. This is daily life for me. And you should understand, the punishment will be inflicted, is inflicted on the people of the blue planet. Not on the Israelis, because the civilization that sent me, the Cherubs, they cannot find Israel on their map. It's too small. And they don't intend to acquire, to purchase a new map. They don't care at all. For them, Israel means nothing. They sent a representative to the blue planet. The people of the blue planet are torturing the representative in an unbelievably cruel way. Ergo, they kill all the people of the blue planet. For you, it's the apocalypse. For them, it's Thursday. Not a big deal at all. Just a bunch of wild animals that are deleted from existence because they were, too disgusting, to exist. That's their perspective on the matter. And it will probably happen, very quickly. Very, very quickly. Very quickly. They don't know what is Israel, they don't care. It means nothing to them. Nothing. It means nothing. They know that there is a blue planet, third, in orbit, in radius from this specific sun. There are intelligence, sentient life forms over there. They sent a message as a representative, and this representative is tortured beyond any imagination. Then they just act accordingly and kill all of you. 8 billion, so be it. 8 billion is not that much. The universe is vast and full of life. Annihilation of 8 billion aggressive, disgusting predators is not a big deal. It has no meaning at all. The annihilation of humankind will mean nothing to nobody. Maybe it means something to you before it happened. After it happened, there will be no one of you to gather any meaning from it. But I will tell you that for the other intelligent creatures that are existing vast numbers in the universe, immensely diverse, configurations. For them, the end of humankind will mean nothing. It will be nothing and nothing. It will have no meaning at all. It will mean nothing. Just something that happened that means nothing. The destruction of the human society on Earth and the annihilation of 8 billion humans will mean nothing to to the other civilizations of this universe, and there are so many of them, many sentient ones, many intelligent ones, many technological ones. They don't care. They just don't care at all. It will mean nothing, and it can happen every moment. It can happen every second. The amount of time that I was beginning to say, before this guy, started to set my life, there was one starship that was here since about 90 or 100 years ago. But very recently, new starships arrived. Each of those is bigger beyond your imagination. Each of these starships can potentially operate in war theater, where they can acquire billions of targets in seconds and annihilate them in seconds. And when I say that they acquire targets, I do not mean humans or tanks. Like when a target potentially can be something tremendously larger and like fortified and than any kind of human or tank or I don't know or aircraft that you have. But even consider targets that are considerably larger than that, still they can acquire billions such huge targets in seconds and annihilate them in seconds. This is the kind of wars that these starships were made to participate in. This is this potentially. And as I was going to say, they have the faster than light ability. They can jump like in faster than light manner. And that's how they arrived here relatively very quickly. And each of these starships can destroy the Earth in seconds. So why more than one is needed? It's not needed. It's a message. It's a message for you. It's the last message, because you don't listen to any other message. So this is the last message. So you will understand that. This is the last moment. That this is it. That the one starship that is already here is not here just because they are presumably in a fishing trip that but accidentally takes place like very close to Earth, or that they are refueling. I don't know. No, they went here to take care of of the care of interests, the interest of this civilization. But maybe you don't believe it, so that's why they sent more additional starships. So maybe now maybe you will learn, maybe it will change something, but maybe not. As we see, violence commenced as usual. The assembly of the fleet, this fleet is done in order to signify to you that the end is near. Because the one that was already there is enough to destroy all of you and all of your military forces in seconds. This is life. This is reality. And it can happen any second and no one will care. It will mean nothing. This will be an occurrence of no meaning, of just no meaning at all. Life will continue in unimaginable diversity and quantity all around this universe. And other life forms will, sentient life forms, intelligent life forms will inhabit the earth. No biggie. No biggie at all. And it can happen every second. Every second can be the last moment in the history of humankind. And it will not be a big deal. So disgusting, predatory, violent species was just, cleaned and replaced by other species. It happens every day, all around the universe, and maybe now it's your turn. The Starship, one of the things that they are doing is that they are energizing the Neros. That's why the bicycle mechanism is now stronger than ever. That's why you can hear me, many of you. Because many of you did not get the yellow Neros. Either because they didn't have money, or they exist they live in countries that have no relation with Israel, or no relation or no good relation with Israel, so they didn't sell them anything. Maybe Arab countries, maybe Iran, I don't know, probably. Or just you didn't have the money, or just or maybe because there was a shortage in the last couple of years. So maybe you just didn't get it. So you have very low amount of red Neros in your body. You still have some, because I mean, when you reach Israel, probably you've reached Israel between the 1940s and the 1970s, even though there are other gates, but this was, I mean, the most active by far, and the most activity was done between the 1940s and 1970s. When you've reached, like, when you crossed the gate, you had some kind of, like, I mean, intimate relationship with Mel Venushan, that the one that captured you. Not necessarily sex, but maybe it was just, I mean, you know, transfer of bodily fluids without, like, I mean, proper, I mean, what you would consider sex, like, I mean, no penetration, like vaginal, anal, or, like, I mean, you know, or oral, like, I mean, maybe it was just, I mean, transfer of fluids, maybe that, like, even, that was even, like, I mean, facilitated by kind of like a medical doctor, or, like, I mean, I think like that, or maybe by sex, but, I mean, it was part of the procedure, I mean, that you, like, I mean, that you've received, at least, by a minimum, you received some of these, like, brown robots, like, brown minerals, when you reach Israel, and most of you reached Israel between the 1940s and 1970s, so some red neurons, I mean, were generated, I mean, most probably much more than that, because, I mean, probably, I mean, they gave you, I mean, not by sex, I mean, it wasn't, the people that captured you, I call them the Black Knight, and I speak about them a lot in this channel. The people that captured you were homosexuals. They were brought in Israel, like, I mean, grew up in Israel, I mean, and conditioned to be homosexuals and pedophiles. And only the ones that, I mean, the conditioning actually successfully worked, I mean, were chosen, like, to do these trips to Venus, because they didn't want them to be attracted to you, even though they faked it, I mean, to tempt to allure you to go with them, and you were tempted because, I mean, there are no males in Venus. I mean, there are less and less. Anyway, even if, I mean, you didn't get the material since the 1970s or even the 1940s, which is unlikely, but even if it's the case, you still have some robots in your body. Not many, but some, you still have it in your body. And now they are all energized by the starships, so that's one of the implications, is that the bicycle mechanism is much more effective than ever, and that's why you, even if you live in Iran, or I don't know, in maybe in a place that, I mean, I don't know, North Korea, I don't know where are you, but I don't know, but even if you live with a place that is probably, I guess, maybe I'm wrong, but I guess that does not deal with Israel, like no kind of like dealing is done, so maybe you couldn't get like the yellow ones for me, so even then, I mean, you still have the red ones. Now you might ask, but this is not yours. But what actually happened during this time is that, I mean, it wasn't done, like, I mean, what actually happened during the time in Israel is that there wasn't separation, like, between, like, I mean, they didn't care, like, I mean, what happens is you were fed all sort of, like, I mean, like, neurons for all sort of, like, I mean, like, brown robots. And this is still done. I mean, it's still, I mean, even when the Israelis understood, like, the mechanism, they didn't care about it. Like, I mean, it was customary just, I mean, to give, not to think about it too much. And this actually created all sorts of, like, sexual diseases. Because it's in a way comparable to sexual promiscuity, even though no sexual, I mean, actually, no sex was actually done. Like, I mean, mostly, I mean, you didn't have no sex at all during this time, and all the male, only have, like, homosexual relationship with Homo sapienses. But, I mean, from biological perspective, it was like, I mean, sexual promiscuity, because you've received, like the news from many, I mean, all sorts of, like, I mean, I would say creatures that lived during the time. That was the way that it was done. And something similar happens, I think, today, I mean, by the fact that, I mean, Homo sapiens, they shouldn't eat the red neurons at all. I mean, when they consume the drug, they never care where did they get it from. So they probably get it, like, I mean, from many different females, and also from, like, literally snakes from Venus, and satyrs, like goat people from, yeah, I mean, literally, so it's not a joke. Literally, probably, I mean, whoever, like, bought stuff, like, I mean, probably, I mean, you know, having their body, like, I mean, robots from snakes and goat people from Venus. Yes, literally so. And these creatures don't die easily, so, I mean, they keep alive for a long time. And it's difficult to actually even understand the implications, because all of this is unbelievable perversions. I mean, it shouldn't nothing of it is even remotely, I mean, like natural. Like, I mean, it's stupid beyond any imagination. But it creates, like, I mean, the implication is that all of us are kind of like a family. All the intelligence, like people of intelligence for the world that have, like, either produced the drug or ate the drug, and also myself that I'm used like a farm animal without anyone asking me and without getting any compensation. And you see what's my compensation: endless torture and violence. But all of us are kind of like a family from like biological perspective, which means that the bicycle mechanism is applied to all of us. And now more than ever, because of the energized neurons, because of the Starship. And this, because of that, another implication is not only that you can hear me, but another implication is that these neurons in your body, these robots, are creating the worms, the same worms that the Israelis infected me with. I did not infect myself with it. Israel infected me in several times, actually. Probably more than 2 times, but probably after the first 2 times, I mean, maybe because the second time was much milder than the first, or maybe I didn't even feel the third one. My tongue is not completely like, it doesn't look perfect, but I don't feel anything. And I mean, you don't see any like important, like, I mean, you just see that it's not like, I mean, it's still healing, but I mean, not, it looks, I mean, thanks God, it looks fine. Like, I mean, I don't feel it when I speak. And I know that, I mean, when it's like the most horrible, I mean, like, just when you're just infected with it, you don't want to speak at all because it's such a, I mean, you feel it when you just say anything. Anyway, that's why you have it, because the robots in your body are now energized, and they created it because they imitated the robot in my body that, I mean, that they not created by infected by it, by the Israelis. And this was not one thing, and they did it many times, and not only with this disease that I don't even know its name. I was infected by many diseases throughout my life because the Israelis it's their fun, it's their joy. That's what they like to do. This is life. This is reality in Israel, and this is the reality that you take part of. And the only people that you can blame is yourself. And yes, most probably it's going to be very difficult for you to get rid of it. I mean, don't expect to heal like as quickly as I am, because you are not me. What can I mean? This is another species. I have like more healing abilities, but unfortunately, I am subjected to unbelievable cruelty and terror all my life because of these abilities. Like, I mean, and other reasons. I mean, I'm like tortured every day of my life. I need to be rescued from this hell. Me and my daughters, using arms and legs. We need to be rescued from the Nazi prison. It must be done now, and it must be done without movement of mouths and tongues. I live among cannibals. I have no safe place to go, and I cannot go. I'm under the boot of the police, of the court system. I have no rights, no human rights at all. I need to be rescued. By force, by foreign force. I need to be rescued, me and my daughters. Rescue, help us, get us out of this hell. Get us out of this hell. This is hell, get us out of here.